Welcome, dear listeners. Welcome to Bold Women on the Move podcast. Happy New Year once again. Yeah, I'm an African, so we get to say Happy New Year every time. Maybe throughout the first quarter of the year. So, it's the year 2022. Yeah, if you haven't catch up on our first podcast for the year where we had a motivational talk about you following your dream, about you doing your best in the year 2022, please go on to Plains FM 96.9 website and look for Bold Women on the Move or Spotify or iTunes. And also good news, in case you don't know, we're now on YouTube. So look for our video on the Bold Women on the Move podcast. And you find a video that also capture our faces, our lovely faces, okay, about our podcast. So welcome today. Once again, we have a lovely Miss Adeola.
Hello.
In the studio. Yeah, hi. Everyone on YouTube and everyone listening to our radio, to the podcast. I'm sure you're in for a swell time. So today we want to get down to business because we are looking at starting a business. Okay. Good. Now, I remember vividly that our second episode on Bold Women on the Move podcast was also on starting a business. But along the line, I noticed, like Miss Adeola pointed out, this could be, my own personal. I noticed that quite a number of migrant women in New Zealand and in also some other part of the world start business, but they fall short. They don't get as much from the business as the effort they put into the business. And I feel this is as a result of maybe not understanding the landscape of where they have found themselves, or maybe not doing their due diligence in relation to maybe research and ensuring that their services or their products or their goods are actually meeting needs, or maybe not doing enough advertising their products. Most of us sometimes think that you only do advertising for products that are huge, that are big, that are well known, forgetting that advertising, that one of the aim of advertising is also to make your product known and your services known. So I'm sure there are some things that we are not doing. So those are our focus on today's podcast. And we have Ms. Adeola here. She's a business entrepreneur. Aside that, she studied business. She studied accounting. She's a business analyst. So I'm sure she has a lot. And she also owns businesses. Not just one business. Businesses. Ms. Adeola, right? Businesses. Okay. So she's going to share with us as migrant women how to avoid some of this pitfall and also how to overcome some of the challenges that we are having. So, welcome to Bold Women on the Move podcast, Miss Adeola.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so once in a while, just, look there and smile at those on YouTube. Sorry for our awkward position. Don't worry, we'll get there. I'm sure this will be better than our first video. And we'll get better, okay? We're getting more technically tuned and ready. And just like we discussed in the first podcast, we're getting smarter. So, straight on to business, Ms. Adeola. How do you start a business in New Zealand, for example?
So, that's a very broad question.
Yeah, I know.
But I'm going to try to break it down as best as I can.
Okay.
To me, how do you start a business is how do you breathe?
Oh, cool.
That's how I say, how do you breathe? But in New Zealand, how you start a business, there are different structures, there are different entities to starting a business. And you need to first recognize, are you going to be a sole trader? Are you going to be a company? Or are you going to be an independent contractor? So you need to identify the entity that you want to go with in New Zealand so that you can register yourself correctly for tax purposes. And the best people to go to help understand which way you should go, like which entity you should go for our accountants. This
Okay.
is a New Zealand registered chartered accountant or business advisor. Sometimes they can ask you the right question as to what are you trying to do, who are you providing services or products to, so that they can understand your tax liabilities, and then put you in a place where you can be protected. So that's the first thing about how to start a business. But even before we get there, the question is, what problem can you identify that you're trying to
To
solve?
solve a need gap.
Yeah. What is the need gap? And you've done research to make sure that other people are not offering the product or service,
Okay.
and even if they are, what is your point of difference?
Okay.
So once you identify that, and you sleep and wake up and still thinking about the same thing, go start a business. And once you know that, go talk to an accountant to advise you as to which entity you should go for.
I like the way you outline those steps. And unknown to you, you've even outlined quite a number of steps, because aside identifying a need gap, you talk about formalizing it. You talk about registering the business, identifying the type of business you want. If you want a sole proprietor, you want to own your business. If you want to join up with others, or if you want to own a franchise, you mentioned that. So we need to identify that. Number two, you talk about, or number three rather, you talk about formalizing it by going to an accountant, which oftentimes we don't often do. Do you think there's anything wrong if I want to start a business and I just feel, okay, let me just start this business and see how it goes before I even go into accounting? Or do you think immediately you start a business or you start giving out services with $10, is it compulsory that you start putting in your accounting structure?
Yes and no.
Okay.
If you're dealing with, direct to customer, so this is B2C, you might not necessarily need to engage an accountant. If the revenue that you're getting, for example, is below 10, 20,000, you might not need to engage an accountant. And I say that because in New Zealand, if you earn above 60 grand in revenue, you need to pay GST.
Okay, so it's revenue, not profit.
Yeah,
revenue.
Okay. So you're legally obligated to pay GST on the portion of revenue you've received. So my ballpoint guide is anything below 10 grand, you could still take the risk, because this is a risk. And you're supplying your services of product to people, you can still take the risk. But if you're going to be supplying your product or services to businesses,
okay,
engage an accountant.
Okay.
Because in New Zealand, there's still Consumer Guarantees Act, there's all those things that you can still read and figure out on your own. But once you start getting engaged with another business, it's best you get in the right people to advise you and whatnot. Yeah.
So do you just need an accountant, or do you also need legal advice when you're dealing with others?
I think it would be better to speak with an accountant first.
Okay.
Then an accountant can sort of look at the whole landscape of what you're doing and then advise you. You're going to have to get a legal advice on this, or you might need to get HR advice on this. So everything is not legal immediately. Okay. But eventually it becomes, if you want to grow the business.
Okay, so it's getting more technical, and that's why we are taking this topic again. I like I said, in 2022, every bold woman on the move out there, I want us to be smarter. Okay, I want our efforts to result into profit for us. Not just working, being smart and making profit or benefiting, or gaining from whatever it is we are doing. And the only way to be smart is to do things the right way. So that's what we are here to find out more about what to do how best to go about starting a business. So, Ms. Adeola, thank you for that. Now, the next point is, what are some of the common main pitfalls that you feel migrant women or business owners can easily, fall into? Well, and now when I say pitfalls, I mean, what are some general information? You've provided one or two of them, like the knowledge that if your revenue is up to 60,000 a year, then you are mandated to pay GST, and you need accounting services to be able to determine this. And so many other things. What are those general pitfalls that you feel sometimes we don't follow, and it can make us fail, in business?
So, I think women generally, not just migrant women,
Okay.
I think women generally are being raised not to take risk, to play safe, whereas men and boys are much more encouraged to take risks, fail, what have you. So I've only been in business seriously for 2.5 years as well. So I'm learning.
Okay.
But one of the things that I've seen for migrant women is that, number one, we think small. So we're very small. Let's just, again, it comes down to that safe things. Just stay in a safe bubble.
So culture has taught us to be safe as women. Okay, allow the men to make the big financial decision. And now again, when you come into business again, you want to actually just play safe.
You play safe.
Okay.
And there are many statistics online that every business fail in the first 5 years, especially in the 2 to 3 years. So again, this has nothing to do with men or women. It's just the statistics of business normally. But then women are also disadvantaged by playing safe, one. And number two, we don't have the right knowledge. So we don't have the right funding to support or maybe not even the funding, but access. If you know about something, then you can go for it. So we don't have access to information for funding. There isn't a lot of support and mindset. We're always advised to play safe. So for me, one of the biggest pitfalls for women, especially migrant women, is mindset. And there was also something I was thinking about. I can't remember now. But it's really mindset. That thinking small is a big pitfall. I'll just do small. And then it gets too big, and then we're overwhelmed. And we are overwhelmed because we don't access available support that there is. Exactly. So that will be one of the big
You
things.
mentioned funding. Are there funding for businesses?
They are funding.
What sort of fundings are there?
Loan.
Okay. Bank loans.
Bank loan, grant.
Okay.
I don't know a lot, but they are definitely grant. We just need to look for them. But yeah, there's grant.
And I know about loan because banks organize loan, and of course because you'll be paying them interest. So of course, if you have good accounting, whatever with them, they may be willing. But grants, do you think individual businesses that are set up for profit can access grants?
Yes, I'm sure they should be grants to support women wanting to get into business. Even work
that
and
would really
income.
be nice, you know.
Even work and income. Have some grants in place to support people into business. It could be funds to help you get laptops and training that you need for you to start on the business. So there are grants and funding out there that can support people.
Oh, wow. That would really be cool for us to be able to aware that there are grants for women in businesses, especially migrant women. But of course, Ms. Adeola has emphasized our mindset needs to be big. If you there's a phrase we took away from our last podcast, encouraging us into this year to face our fear. And that phrase is that if you feel you can, then you can. And if you feel you can't, then you can't.
Yeah.
And you are right both ways.
Yeah.
So it's our mentality, isn't it?
Yeah. I would say that is pretty much 60% for migrant women. And I've just remembered there's also one important thing that I've actually struggled with my own mother, is that migrants are hardworking. We are incredibly hardworking.
Industrious.
Incredible. But the downside is that we think we can trade time for money.
Come again.
We can trade time
for money. Okay.
And to make it in business, it's not about trading time for money. So that is the one thing I've recognized. We want to do everything ourselves. You want to work 3 jobs. So we trade time for money.
It's part of that avoiding risk. Because if you're working and earning money, then you are sure of what is coming in, rather than investing that time in a service that you're not sure what will come in at the end of the day.
And even the service, if you're providing a service, I'm sure there are duties, there are tasks that could be delegated. But we
want
really
to do it
believe
by
that
ourselves.
time for money. We want to do it by ourselves. And I had a lot of argument with my mother just because she's like, you have to do it. I'm like, no, I'm not going with that business model. No. So that is outside mindset. Trading time directly for money is another problem that I think migrant women have.
Yeah. In my experience also, I've come to appreciate time more. It's not like we're not, maybe because of the type of job even the job I was in before, I was a teacher in the university. And what I notice is that what matters more is quality. By quality, I mean, okay, you can sit down and spend maybe 5 hours or depending in a day to do some study. And the quality of what you're going to produce, the mind-blowing results of your discovery, if it is a research or something, can change situations. So it can result into thousands or millions of money for you, depending on what you've been able to come out with. That's sitting down and using your brain. But I found out that most times when we move here as migrant women, we lose focus of those types of job because just like you said, we believe maybe we can do them. And then we begin to do jobs that pay lesser and make us commit more hours to those jobs. And we're earning enough to get by. But the truth is, we actually have the capacity to earn more. You understand? We have the capacity to give more. Let me not say to earn more, to even give more to our community and our society. But we're not making ourselves see that. And we also have the capacity to make life easier for us, and not work that hard, but work smarter. Making life easier for us, having, more time, more family time, And so, this, for example, one of the things I've discovered is automation, going online, being able to sell online. Some of us that are in businesses here still believe that it has to be this one-on-one interaction form of, selling. You have to see who you are selling to. You have to be able to engage with the person before you can sell to the person, But there are better ways of doing things, and we can get more money from it. So pitfalls. So is that all? Is there any other pitfall?
There's probably more, but for now, what I can really focus more is that mindset, access to information, and access to funding.
Okay. So we should go look for funding, go ensure that as much as possible we have the information we need, and we know that we are meeting a need gap. We are aware of tax laws that are operating so that we are not breaking the law in any way. We are aware of customer engagement rules, little knowledge about contracts will not be bad, because sometimes some of us don't know that those things are binding, some of those informal contracts that we make. For example, you've agreed to sell something for someone at so price and deliver at a certain date, and you don't meet up with the delivery, and yet you didn't offer any apology or anything to the person, to your customer.
Etiquette.
Yeah, so all those things should be able to help us to achieve more. So, Ms. Adeola, before we go on break, I'm not sure if we'll be able to do that, but if we don't do that, we'll come back and then we'll continue with that. We know you have businesses, like I said. And yeah, it's taking a bold step for you to be able to start these businesses. So we wouldn't mind if you can just share your experiences, with us about starting a business. Yeah, we love stories on Bold Women on the Move.
Okay, so I have a staffing agency and a e-commerce store. And the staffing agency is 2.5 now, and the e-commerce is a year. And in the 2.5 years that I've been in the business, I've just been figuring it out by myself.
Wow.
It's been incredibly hard. It's been incredibly challenging. Every day I want to give up.
Wow.
But I believe in what I'm doing, especially with the staffing agency. I believe in it. I see a future for it beyond me. And I value the people that the businesses allowed me to impact.
Wow.
In any shape or form. So that keeps me going.
Okay.
But where I have now gotten to is that I looked at the business and I said, I cannot keep going like this. And even though I was saying talk to accountant and talk to all of this, I did not do that. Okay. I was still kind of using my, Otago Uni degree and my business analysis.
Well, you have basic knowledge, so you're better off than some of us that did communication. At least you know the nitty gritty of business,
Kind of, but I think what also helped me is that I watch a lot of YouTube videos about how to start a business and how to keep going. And
that's the University of YouTube.
And keep going, and what's up, and challenges and struggles and mindset and access and everything. I'm constantly on YouTube. Watching somebody getting inspired, either biblically because I'm a Christian, or morally, or people talking about the science of sleeping and eating and what have you. I listen to a lot of things that fuels me to keep going, because there were many, many moments that I'm just like, oh, what are you doing? So at the 2-year mark, at the 2-year mark, I looked at the nature of the business, and then I said, I can't keep doing this by myself. Okay. So I went on Facebook. Facebook is another source, wonderful platform if you know how to use it right.
Right.
Got into a group of women in business,
Generally, or here in New Zealand?
Here in New Zealand.
Oh, okay.
Different Facebook group for women in business, girls in business, small business owner, big business owner. I just went into
I need to get on board too.
a lot of business groups, and I asked questions. And from asking questions, people are always willing to help. And from seeing others people's question as well, you can actually see that you're not alone. So that's also encouraging, because another thing is most people just want to do it all by themselves, and then they have no support system. You need a support system. So that's one. 2 is I also joined a networking group. Okay. And in that networking group, we meet every week. And everybody just talk about their wins, their challenges, their opportunities, and somebody present out of the group. and there's like a camaraderie or people.
Is there an online group?
No, this is a physical group.
Oh, okay.
So, it's another place where, because being a business owner can be a lonely journey, especially if you're starting out just by yourself. So it's good to talk to people, to be with people, so that you're encouraged. And from talking to people or from hearing other people's story, you can quickly figure out what you're not doing right and what you should be doing well. And from all of those access that I got myself engaged in, I was able to get a business coach.
Oh, okay.
It was incredibly expensive for one-on-one services, but the business coach was amazing in that this is what I charge on a one-to-one service, but given where you're at and I want to help you, I'm going to do a group session.
Oh, okay.
And that way the price is divided amongst the number of people.
Yeah.
So I've been doing the group session for the last 4 months, and I have seen the difference.
Wow.
So in terms of business journey, that is where I'm at. Finally talking to an accountant to help me look at my pricing, talking to a business coach to open my eyes, to give me ideas, to question me, to challenge me, so that I look at what I'm doing and go, so that's where I'm at.
We're still going to dig deeper into your experiences in business, but for those of us listening on the podcast, so we're going to take a musical break. For those of us on YouTube, we do not have that luxury for a musical break, so you'll see us that we just continue. That we're going to do a pause and then continue from there. Yeah, welcome back. It's still Bold Women on the Move podcast, and I'm sure for those listening on the podcast, you've had a musical break, and I hope you enjoyed that music. For those of us on YouTube, we're still here, and of course you had our lovely face to still continue to look at. Miss Adeola, before we went on break, was, just shortly talked about her experience and how she's progressing. She's had low moments in business, and sometimes feeling like giving up. I also am a businesswoman. I've come to know that Both Women on the Move podcast is a business. Yeah, and unless I have a business model to it, there's no way there will be no motivation, I'm just gonna feel and doing things for free, and doing things for free doesn't hand you any form of motivation. So I'm also trying to, reorganize things, do things in a better way so that I can, give excellence and get back excellence. Now, Ms. Adeola, can you share just some specific experience? Was it regarding not breaking even financially? Was it regarding, I'm giving you just some type of stories that I would like to hear. Since you provide services, does it involve like manpower shortage, or you not having enough staff, or you not having the quality of staff that you expected, or you being unable to meet the expectation of your customer? What exactly are those challenges that you have had in your 2.5 years of doing business in New Zealand?
So for me, it came down to a woman problem and a migrant woman problem, in that I was underpricing myself. So immediately that puts the finances and business in a difficult position not to grow. And again, this is a women are known for underpricing. Men are paid, is it 3 times what a woman earns? So there was that issue. So in a staffing environment, you're dealing with people constantly. And sometimes you're not equipped to handle some of the issues when it comes to people.
Dealing with people.
and when I say issues, I mean mental health issues, domestic violence issues
With the staff?
with the staff.
Wow.
So
That's a huge responsibility for you to take on.
Yeah.
As a company.
So as a person, I just run a business, and people, get good job and are paid well, and great if I earn anything, and great if I don't. But after getting into it and seeing that you have to deal with people that are going through, mental health illness or domestic abuse situation, and you're like, this is much
Wow.
much more than
It's expanding your scope.
this is much more than what I anticipated. But you're putting yourself in this position, so you quickly have to wear your big girl pants and talk to the right people as to what should I do, and how should I handle this. Those would be the biggest challenges that I would say I've had to experience. Just women.
So does it now involve you having to consult other agencies on their behalf, seek help for them, or you just giving them time off to sort things out themselves?
So I had to contact an employment consultant to advise me on ways to do that, because some people don't want you to fix their problem.
Wow.
So you can't just go telling, this is. So just, again, engaging with the right people, like people that are professional employment consultants, to say, in this situation, these are the policies you must follow. In this situation, so creating policies as we go. Because I didn't know all of this. Creating mental health policy, creating domestic leave policy, and every other policy that we've had to create. And another thing that I think I'm going to be struggling with is that, for me, my staff, I like to know them.
Okay.
And I like to connect with them. As the business will grow, I probably wouldn't be able to connect with everyone.
Then that means you need a human resources manager.
So
I'll be willing to be one part-time job.
So when I get there, I'll definitely cross that bridge. But that is the part that I've enjoyed the most, because I know the people, I know what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what their needs are, what their availability are. So once I get a job, I know this is the right person, that's the right person.
Wow.
So that's the part I would say I enjoy.
So people management has to become a skill for you when you're dealing with people. Now, which one would you say you prefer? Now, you have a business where you manage people and services at the same time, and then you have another business where you manage products.
Yes.
So which one do you think is easier?
I'll say product is easier because you're not dealing with people. Dealing with people is hard. It's hard work, because we're dealing with a lot of emotions, and emotion is not fixed, so fluid.
Yeah.
So that part would be hard, but I still like people.
Yeah. Oh, cool. That's good.
I like people. So
depending on one's interest, and you obviously have a passion for your business. Obviously you have a passion for it. So and I think it takes time to grow experiences. Absolutely. And people management skill is learned, and with time you grow on it, and then you begin to know how to be able to manage people, how to deal with things that are going on around you. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And we wish you all the best in your business journey.
Thank you.
In a few years' times, when we are able to bring in Ms. Adeola again, I'm sure she should be telling us what her gross turnover, maybe millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Fingers crossed. We'll get there. You've told us to be bold as women, and not to limit our mentality, and do it well. Thank you so much for that. Now, just one or two more issues to look at, and we'll move on from there. Now, what do you think are the responsibilities of a business owner in New Zealand? What are those responsibilities that a business owner need to put in place when going into business that can make them have a successful business? Like, what are the do's and don'ts of doing business in New Zealand?
Again, it comes down to the type of business you have.
Okay.
The type of business will dictate what you need to have.
Okay.
If you have a people-related business, then you need to have policies and processes in place for people-related business. If you have a hiring business, then you have to have policies in place for safety, what have you, for that. And there's a lot of information online that pertains to the type of business you have. So first, determine the type of business, and that would dictate what you need to have. The general things are, make sure your banking and accounting and IRD is sorted, well. Get coaching, talk to the right people. I cannot stress coaching enough because, like I said, it's only been 4 months, and I am seeing the impact,
visible changes,
of
progress.
that. Naturally, for me as a business analyst, I just want to do behind the scene work, and somebody else say this is a team effort. I love that. But as a business owner, you have to be the face, the brand, and involve in all aspect of the business. So to be a business owner, you need to humble yourself, basically. Depending on any type of business you have, you need to humble yourself and be willing to learn. And because you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. It's okay to make mistakes, but learn from it and apply the right things that you need to do. And
do you agree with this statement? It just came to my mind now that there's nothing like an informal business. That every business to be successful must have a formal structure by which it operates.
Maybe there isn't. I think everything needs to have a formal structure. It doesn't have to be a company.
Yeah. You know why I said that? I always have behind my mind, because from my experience, from your experience and background, being migrants, being people from a society where there is so much informal business structure.
Yeah.
And most of our parents' family, I can't think of my mom ever paying tax or something like that. And they started and held successful businesses.
Yeah.
I don't know what her turnover was, my mom and dad, but
what kind of business was it?
Oh, she was in the food business.
Okay.
All sorts of food business. First selling ingredients, then cooking. So, just in between all kinds of food business. So, there is no formalized or structured put on ground. Of course, I think when it came to the bread business that she started, she had to put up a structure because that was very technical.
Yeah.
It involves a huge amount of money, hundreds of thousands, almost every day. Because by the time you collect the bread from the bakery, and then you begin to distribute to each other. So at the end of the day, I found out keeping book. She started keeping records because she had to be able to keep the record of how much goods she's giving out to a particular person, how much it is. Yeah. And then
there has to be a structure.
Yeah.
Even though you said, food business and she didn't always have a thing. But there was a process.
Yeah.
There was a process of eventually writing things down.
Yeah.
There was a process of this is how much I made, this is my profit, this is how much I need to buy the stuff. There's a process of how much the stuff needs to cost and should not be above.
Yeah, and that is where I feel, you talk about women shortchanging themselves. And that is where I feel we should change ourselves, because when we don't have formalized structures, we're just hurting ourselves. For example, if someone asks me now, I do some cooking business here in New Zealand, somebody asks me to, you give me an estimate of what it will take me to cost and all this. Now I go about costing the product, okay? I cost the product and then I come up with a price, forgetting that I'm gonna use time for the shopping, which is also supposed to be, cost included. I'm gonna use fuel, transportation to get to do the purchasing that I need, which is supposed to be, because I'm gonna use electricity, for some of the cooking power. So this is there. Then I'm gonna use manpower. And I look at it, the minimum, maybe whatever food I want to cook, depending on the quality, it's still going to take me a minimum of 4 hours each day, 3 days consecutively to be able to cook. 4 hours of doing shopping, for another 4 hours of prepping, and maybe minimum of another 4 hours, depending if it's just one item. If it's more than one item, I may be using up to 4, 6, 8 hours to cook. Now, all these things, by the time you quantify the minimum earning in New Zealand, for example, which is $20 an hour, and you had that, if you don't do that, there's no way you're going to be able to price equitably. You will find out that you'll be shortchanging yourself. So if you just sit down and you just say, oh, the oil costs this, the rice costs this, and you had that together, and then that produces the food, that is not actually the cost. And I've done that so many times because I don't do, appropriate accounting, and I find that I'm shortchanging myself. So what do? Thank goodness I have an accountant in the house. So I never give out price without consulting him first. So once I have a booking or something I need to do, I ask him, let's do that. And then he begins to bring out all those things. Have you cost this? Have you cost this? Have you cost this? And he does all the, costing is one of the major costs you do in accounting, And then we're able to put, sometimes when we come up with the bill, with the cost, I'll be like, no, if you give them this, you're going to scare them off.
Yes. Yeah, and the thing is that you are not alone.
Yeah.
You are not alone. So I mentioned all of these groups on Facebook that I've been, fortunate to have found and be a part of. And there was definitely a time where somebody who is a caterer from Christchurch was going to Ashburton to cook. And she was asking, how much do I charge for the travel? Because I've never done out of town. So you're not alone. And there were a lot of lovely people that suggested you charge, what's it called? It's either you charge what you earn per hour. So that from Ashburton to Christchurch is it 45 minutes?
Yeah, it's about an hour. It's an hour. Yeah.
So it's either you go, because that's your time traveling. So it's either you go per hour for that journey, and then based on IRD guide, there is also travel expenses you can claim back or something
because
like that.
Because fuel is incurred, and then the wear and tear on the vehicle you're using.
But for that, out of town catering service, I don't know how many Ks it says from Christchurch to Ashburton, maybe 100 Ks. That's like 100 times, I think it's $1.79 or something like that, that you can also charge to the client, or you can claim back as part of your end of year financials. So again, talking to the right people to give advice. So you are not alone in making those mistakes. A lot of people just generally don't know those things. And there are people in all of these forums that have, crossed that bridge already, and they're not, no, don't do that again. So if other people ask that kind of question, they are very, willing to provide feedback, like, yeah, I did that, oh, this is how I do it. And then you look at what works for you and your clientele.
Okay.
So if you want to offer VIP services or
Yeah.
and then you can sort of adjust your cost to your clientele,
To your
but at least know what your break even would be. Yeah.
And when you're doing business, then you should be making profits. And so if you're not making profit, then it means that maybe we're not doing something right.
Yeah.
Okay, and we should try as much as possible. She's just talked about mentorship, coaching, getting information from others, joining business groups where people can share experiences, and they can talk about what pitfalls they have avoided in the past and how they avoided those pitfalls, so that we don't, make the same mistake, and we can move on from there. So, any last word for business women in migrants, especially who are doing business in New Zealand or any part of the world? You're a migrant woman and you happen chance to come upon our podcast on YouTube. Any advice for us? Yeah.
Just go for it.
Okay.
That's the advice.
Do it afraid.
Do it afraid. Go for it. Have a target of, say, 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
By the 3-year mark, nothing is moving forward or backward and it's just the same. Then, reconsider. I think it was Brian Chapman or is it Tracy Chapman? One of those motivational business people. They say fail fast. And what they mean by that is once you fail fast, the lessons learned. And the next time you start all over again, you're not starting from the beginning, you're starting from lessons learned. So fail fast. I think.
Wow.
Do
Listeners
it.
at home,
Fail fast.
Do it afraid, fail fast, go for it, be smart, be proactive, use resources, seek help, seek coaching, ask for help around you, join community of other women who are doing businesses. Okay, I'm sure there will be one in every community. Where you are here in New Zealand, we have a Facebook group. I remember also there is a Facebook group, Nigerian, I don't know, but it was created by a woman, something women pursuing money. She started one recently, sometimes last year. There's so many, Facebook groups that you learn things from. So social medias are not just there for fun or just for you to while away time and gossip and look at what's happening to other people. You can use them for your businesses. And also for migrant women listening here in New Zealand, also get form of advertisement for your products. I want to put it to us that on Both Women on the Move, we run adverts. Okay, come to us. We'll come up with advertising for you. Run it on our podcast. Run it on our YouTube. We can even create, scripts for you that help you sell your business. Put yourself out there. Be seen. Create account for yourself, like an Instagram account or a Facebook account. Where people can meet with you. It's not only physically that people are doing businesses this day. People are going online and making billions of dollars on Amazon. Billions of dollars on it, and just putting their product there, and whoever needs the product will get the product without even knowing, those selling the product. So we can be smart this year. But Women on the Move, we can get the best. And if you're not getting the desired results that you want, do not give up. Okay, hold on, and you will get there soon enough. Okay, till we'll come your way again on Both Women on the Move podcast. Thank you, Miss Adeola, once again. It's been another cool afternoon here in Christchurch, New Zealand, and till we'll come your way again, it's bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Olúwaye.
Thank you. Ta ló ń pè yín tó ń pè yín yẹn?
It's a customer.
Okay. Ẹ jẹ́ nǹkan ọmọ ẹ wá kó wá pa kí. Ayọ̀mípọ̀, come and turn it off.
what it is.